The Midwest Tech Project is a think tank advocacy organization co-founded by Jonathan and A.J. Hills with the mission to expose and connect people of color to the world of technology and teach related industries. Their inspiration was birthed out of a 2015 Forbes article that ranked Grand Rapids, Michigan as the second worst city nationally for African Americans economically, and their vision is to help create and organize tech culture, develop an effective tech talent pipeline, and expose inner city youth to the opportunities in tech. The 21st century economy will be anchored by technology, and they understand that without exposure, training programs, and access to entrepreneurs' resources, people of color will struggle to find lucrative employment for generations to come. With a robust community calendar of events such as the Power of Tech Fair, the Man/Women versus Machine Robotic Expo, a bilingual tech fair at Cesars Chavez Elementary, and City Hacks Tech Weekend. Their vision is to connect community to the information, education, and access to technology. Companies look for people with skills to employ them.
Would you possibly have one more mic? Good morning, brothers and sisters. Good morning. How are you doing this morning? So I'm Alvin Hills IV. I go by AJ.
I'm Jonathan Jelks.
And we're here from the Midwest Tech Project. So kind of as the bio described, our journey really started based out of creating more economic opportunity for people that look like us. When the Forbes article landed in 2015, it was something that we already knew, but it elevated the conversation, especially locally here. So what we did was we kind of like to be a part of the solution and roll our sleeves up, try it out, pilot it, see if it works. But I'll kind of let Jonathan tell you kind of the successes we have and how we're structured.
Well, I think first and foremost, we want to thank everybody here for having us. This isn't my first time speaking at the conference, but this conference is historic at this point. It's been going on for many years, and we're honored to be here at Messiah Baptist Church, which is such a fixture in our community. I think all young people should know that first and foremost. This church has been one of those long-standing institutions that's helped to transform lives. So when you think about Messiah, keep that in your minds at the forefront. When I think about the Midwest Tech Project, I've been active in the Grand Rapids community for many years now. I'm 33, and I kind of got started when I was 18, and I was inspired by some of the people who are in this room. I see Dean Don Williams there, Commissioner Lumpkins, an entrepreneur, Mr. McLean. Individuals like these were an inspiration for me to get out and get active in Grand Rapids, to want to change some things that I saw was wrong. I grew up in Southeast Grand Rapids, and in the 90s, which sounds like so long ago now, when I was coming up, things were a little bit tougher in the city. So, there was a lot of violence, and some of my friends went off and went to college and were able to overcome single-parent homes and all the things that we deal with as a people in the inner city. But some of my friends got caught up in the wrong things, and so selling drugs became a go-to. Some gang activity. Just a lot of fights, and people not really taking school as seriously as they should. And so I got active at 18 and wanted to try to create more opportunities for young people. When I connected with AJ about 3-4 years ago, he was already doing some great work out of Kalamazoo with his organization, Endless Opportunities, which is big on mentorship and making sure that all you young people are focused within your education and have the support and the resources that you need. He was doing this in Kalamazoo. He was doing this in Grand Rapids. He was connecting with the fraternities and the sororities and utilizing basically the African-American ecosystem to support our young people through mentorship and development. And I was looking at Grand Rapids and saying, hey, some of the statistics that I'm seeing are quite troubling. Grand Rapids is ranked as one of the best cities in the United States of America to raise a family. At the same time, we have a 53% unemployment rate in the black community. So those things just don't make sense. Either something systemically is off, or people are being neglected from opportunities, or we're not knowing what we need to do in order to be successful as entrepreneurs and as professionals. And so those statistics really bother me, because I have a clothing company, GR USA, that's dedicated to celebrating the city. It pays homage to the city. It pays homage to the legacy of what people have done in this community. But that's not something as people of color that we can be proud of, that we're ranked in Forbes as the best mid-sized city in America, but at the same time, we're ranked as the second worst city economically for black people. So AJ had this great thing that he was piloting as far as mentoring goes, and I had been working in the entrepreneurship space and the workforce development space, and we kind of put our heads together as two young brothers, and he's a little bit younger than me, to come up with something new that could introduce people to where the opportunities are going to be and the jobs of the future.
And kind of the way that we introduced that was off of our program for young men. So we have a program for young men, grades 6 through 10th, that could come to our mentoring program twice a month and learn about technology. Me and John aren't techies by trade, but we know a ton of them. And for us, we look at ourselves as the connectors, as facilitators for our young people. So we meet twice a month, and one meeting is structured around either a tour to a local tech company. So Atomic Object, which is a huge software development company right up here on Wealthy, we'll take our young people over there. They'll get to talk to the experts over at Atomic. They'll do some small exercises to help kind of begin to gain their interest in what software development look like. And then our next meeting, we're housed out at Baxter Community Center. And so that meeting, the young man gets to kind of dive in more to like terminology of software development. So each month is structured around a different area of tech. I think in the black community, when we hear technology, we only think about programming. But graphic design is out there. Some of the bigger things that are growing, like cybersecurity, analytics, if you can interpret data and figure out how to use that. But also each tech company has a marketing department, a finance department, a PR department. So what we want to do is make sure that our young people are dipping their toes in the water early. We have Chromebooks for our young men to use. So when they do come to us, a computer isn't required. We'll take care of that on our end. And that's something that, as I see these young gentlemen here in the front row and just throughout the sanctuary, that at our age, I think we might have been in tech if we'd had someone to kind of show us how it's applicable to our daily lives, how we could take, like John said, a GRUSA, and how he uses social media to help create more customers in the direct-to-consumer pipeline. That's all fostered through technology. So what we like to do over at the Midwest Tech Project is make it cool, make sure some of our young people are into YouTube. You could make money off of YouTube. It's called Patreons, and you could build your subscription base to where if you want to make content all day, that's going to be the currency of the future. Content. As you look across any platform now, the people who are thriving are the people who have content, and more content. So we want our young people to know it's not just programming. And as you see me up here in the sweatshirt and Jonathan up here in this cool GRUSA jacket, we're underdressed for the occasion, but for young people, this is what they wear to work when they work in technology. They don't come to work in a shirt and tie every day or a button up. I remember one of our interns, his name is Brandon Wells. He got placed at Well Design, and we go in for his orientation, and then he's kind of like, so what am I expected to wear to work? He's expecting khakis, button up, and this guy had on pretty much a Nike jogging suit. And the owner of the company said, that's perfectly fine. We want you here to be comfortable. We want you here to be able to create, but we want you to come as who you are. And that industry has been one of the most eye-opening as far as welcoming for people that look like us. You don't have to go in there with the cookie-cutter approach for corporate America. They really want you to be yourself. As the tech industry has been under scrutiny for diversity, they don't want people who are coming in and assimilating to what the mainstream culture is already doing in the field of technology. So for young people, if you're looking to get connected with the Midwest Tech Project, one of our administrators over there, Noble Johnson, he's a perfect person to follow up with so he could get your contact information. And I know most of you may know about the Switch Data Center that's just been placed at the old Steelcase building. Over spring break, our young men be able to go over there and tour their facility and get to connect with the executives executives there as well. So from a mentorship standpoint, we're just all about making sure that our young men have access and exposure, and we're here to walk alongside of them. And then as we develop those rock stars, they'll be placed at paid internships. So we have a young man named Keyshawn. He's placed at Mercantile Bank, and he's working in information securities. So one day he calls me up and he says, man, I had a great day at work. So of course I'm asking him, what did he do? And he said, I had to facilitate client engagement. He said I had to walk, identify 5 clients to potentially use as vendors, and just him having that that moment of confidence to know that he could lead a meeting in front of 5 strangers and get the end goal accomplished while getting paid is kind of what we're here for. And we know that, as Jonathan said, our young people face battles every day. And we know one thing: if we could help put dollars in their pocket, that would help to deter some of that free time and some of those bad decisions. But we're not just a mentoring program, and I'll kind of let Jonathan talk about some of our workforce development for millennials and Gen Xers.
AJ was on such a good roll. I want to just let him keep on taking it home. I think we really want to encourage a lot of entrepreneurship. The way that the new workforce is going to operate is that you're kind of working for yourself. You're kind of like an independent contractor, even if you are working for one of these companies. And so you're going to need to be able to identify what skills and what value you bring to whatever company it is that you're working for moving forward. Things are moving very fast, and you're going to have to be able to adapt and evolve as the market changes and changes quickly. A good example that's local, everybody knows Meijer, right? Groceries. All right. Well, Amazon bought Whole Foods, which is another grocer. It's a little bit more high end, but Amazon acquiring Amazon, which is a tech company which sells a lot of different products and is pretty much the richest company in the world. Them buying and acquiring Whole Foods is putting a lot of pressure on how Meijer's does their business. Now Meijer is going to deliver your groceries straight to your doorstep. They have technology to make that happen. That is a byproduct of an Amazon buying in Whole Foods. So the way that technology is going, there's a lot of money being made, there's a lot of money being thrown around, there's a lot of investments that are happening, and we want our young people to be prepared for that. I'm going to get to your question, too. If you're asking me a question, are you looking for your mom? We're going to get to the game. Sure. Nope was there. We're going to get to the game.
That's a lot of pressure, John, right?
Yeah. But we want our young people to transition from thinking about everything that's going on, from being consumers of products to being producers of these products. Black people are the most creative people in the world. I stand by it. We've been innovative. We had to be innovative to get ourselves out of slavery. So we are innovators at the foundation. So it's time for us to now transition that into entrepreneurship and having more ownership. And luckily, the internet is the great equalizer, right? Any information that you need to access, like before when I was growing up and when Dean Don Williams was growing up, for sure, you had to go to the library. You had to read several different books. If you were lucky enough, there was a Xerox machine and you could copy some of the pages from a book to take the information home with you. Now, you have a computer on your hip. I still grew up in the era where there was a rotary phone where you had to, rotate the numbers and the dial, and it was crazy. I didn't have a cell phone until I got into high school. And so you guys are lucky that if you have a question, if there's a tough math equation that you can't figure out, you can Google it and find out the answer, and Google will show you the work so that you guys can be prepared. There's no excuse for ignorance in 2018. You have complete access to all the information that you need. So...
Hey, John, before you go too far, educate some of the brothers about some of our people who are making it in tech right now, especially your favorite Nas, and one of his things he sold to Amazon.
I'm a big hip-hop fan. We won't get into that because in the church that can be, really controversial, but a lot of iconic hip-hop figures and people who've made money from the hip-hop industry are heavily invested in tech right now. A good example is Nas, who's one of the greatest ever. He invested in several different companies. So he invested in Lyft, which is a competitor to Uber. He invested in SeatGeek, which is another platform for professionals. But he invested in a company called what's it called? Ring. And it deals with like the security at your front door. But Amazon bought that for $1.2 billion. So he made about $50 million off the deal. Because he only put in a small percentage, and for the small percentage that he invested, he made $50 million. So I mean, guys, the tech industry is no joke. There's a lot of money being made, and for our people, this is the type of resources that can be reinvested into making our neighborhoods what they should be. And so we want everybody to take advantage of that from a workforce development standpoint, connecting young people with CEOs from companies, making sure that you guys have the confidence to go out there and know that, I'm a CEO already. Like, that's how you guys should be thinking. Young people are programming and developing their own video games and coming up with innovations for, your Apple or Android, iPhones, and all that good stuff. You guys, anything that you want to do now, it can happen. Before, you had to get older in order to be able to be an entrepreneur. You had to get older in order to be a professional. You can go out right now, learn some coding skills, and be making $50,000 a year if you're good enough. Right now. Right now.
And there's no age limit. So one thing that we like about technology, it kind of reminds me of the GM era, where if you had the skill and the ability and you wanted to work, it was a place for you. So the degree isn't a requirement for a lot of tech companies. What we learned through our journey in tech is a lot of people were self-starters. A lot of people took the software at home, started playing with it, learned how to do HTML, learned how to do CSS, and eventually was just hired by a company who may have paid for their college development in a specific area. As we know, whenever you're employed anywhere, they kind of retrain you for what is specifically that you need. But I think that was cool that, for young people now, if you really want to learn how to code, you could go do so and start working tomorrow.
Can you help the youth understand the difference between good technology and bad technology? Also helping them understand the balance of when to be on tech and when to be off tech?
So I'm gonna speak to kind of the bad side of technology, which is for our young people, they're losing a lot of social skills during this technology wave. As we see people walk down the street, everybody's kind of walking like this. And another aspect of tech is you have to be able to engage on a one-on-one basis. If you have a client, someone that you're selling software to, you're gonna have to go to lunch. You're gonna have to be able to talk and build interpersonal relationships with those companies. And another thing about tech is sometimes those challenges or sometimes those postings on social media isn't getting you closer to where you want to be. As a kid, sometimes you post because it's fun, but the thing about the internet is nothing is erased. Everything lives out there from the moment that you press send. So before you press send, if your mother wouldn't like it, if your grandmother pop you in the head, you might not want to send that. But granted, that's what your friends are doing. So you have to be a man at that point as young people. You have to be a man and walk by the values that you know that your family has put in place for you. But technology can be used for a ton of good things, but it is some downside to what technology is using. But technology is further enhancing convenience. So as technology becomes more convenient for folks, I think some of those critical thinking skills are leaving. The example that I'll give you is a couple years ago, I went to go sign up for a gym membership at Planet Fitness, and they said the Wi-Fi is down. So I'm like, okay, if your Wi-Fi is down, I know you have a paper form, I got my debit card and all those things, but they didn't have a paper process. So I think technology is impacting us in a way sometimes that we don't even think about how it impacts business, but just the basic skill level of being able to have a paper process to meet your customer need when the technology goes away. I think that's something that we always have to be conscious of. And while we continue to shift paperless, I know some of our baby boomers are, you got to hold on to paper. You got to hold on to it to an extent. You can't just totally, give up paper. But John, I'm pretty sure you could talk to some of the bad or the good about technology.
I hate, I'll give you a specific example, fight videos on Facebook. I see that a lot, and I've been in fights in my life, unfortunately, and sometimes you have to defend yourself, that's what it comes down to. But when I see young people fighting and there's a lot of comments, I think that only adds more fuel to the fire. And so I think that's a terrible thing, and I think AJ is completely correct that your social media etiquette, will affect you. You say the wrong thing or you post the wrong things on social media and you won't be able to get a job. Your employer will hold that against you, and you guys should know that. So you have to think about what's appropriate at all times before you post it. Sometimes things need to be addressed, but you need to be very mindful of the language that you use and know that the whole world is watching and that it can be dug up. Another bad thing about technology is we're entering into a phase, which is why we're so urgently pushing the Midwest Tech Project agenda. Robots are coming, and they're going to be taking a lot of jobs that we once had. My grandfather worked in the factory for 30, 40 years, and those types of jobs will no longer be available for human beings, because with a robot, you don't have to pay them union wages. They don't take time to use the bathroom. So these companies can save a lot of money by having automation in their entities. And so that means less jobs for us. And so we need to be more creative on how we're going to work and feed our families. And so that means that we need more programmers. We need more people who can maintenance the robots. We need more people who can program the robots to act the right way.
And John, if you don't mind if I jump in, another bad thing is through automation is they're now preparing robots to think for the HR piece of hiring, which means bias may be built into the softwares that's being developed to hire people that look like us.
So to get into that point, imagine we have to deal with racist people out in the community who don't want to hire us because of the way that we look or the way that we sound or our names. Imagine now that all the robots are being programmed by white people, and now the robots are utilizing the same bias that white people who aren't fans of black people are utilizing. That's a very serious concern. And so we need as many people of color to get involved with this industry to make sure that we protect ourselves.
Yeah.
So.
And even on that note, that creates a direct opportunity for entrepreneurship for somebody to make a competitor to the software that's already present. Because what we learned about the tech industry is everybody wants to identify minority talent, and they're having a struggle, quote unquote, to do so. However, if one of our people could pioneer a software that makes it connects with people that look like us, figure out the matchmaking process, and then goes to market with it, that's a direct opportunity for a new business. That's a direct opportunity to hire people that look like us, and that's a direct opportunity to employ people that look like us. So some of our work that we do for millennials and Gen Xers and baby boomers is we have partnerships with a couple organizations called Grand Circus and Co-Learning. Grand Circus is a tech company based out of Detroit, Michigan, but what they do is offer coding boot camps, programming boot camps to get people into the industry. That's 10 weeks. Their full boot camp is a little pricey. It's about 10 grand, but they do have some entry-level boot camps. But as we mentioned before, if you're a self-starter, if you go home and study and kind of learn the programming before you get to the door, that is something that they have sponsorship for or scholarships for. So what we did is we hosted a variety of different young professionals at Grand Circus to learn HTML and CSS coding. And then we also sponsored 15 people of color through another program called Co-Learning, which is housed out of the factory downtown on Fulton Street near Commerce. And what that looked like was from the Midwest Tech Project, we found 15 people of color, both black and brown, and we sponsored them to take the intro to programming on the front end. There's some back-end programming, but then also human-centered design. So human-centered design is a huge industry that's growing now to kind of speak to how you design your products based upon the end user. So I'll kind of let John
Yeah, man. So, and those sponsorships are for adults. So while we're working with our youth and we take them on different field trips to different software development firms and different tech companies and robotics engineering companies, we offer scholarships to adults who are looking to transition out of whatever workforce to be able to enter into the tech industry.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Particularly for young people who are looking at tech as an option. Maybe they haven't had experience with tech other than figuring out how to use their apps on their cell phone. They're beginners. They're doing Facebook, Snapchat, or whatever. But in terms of programming on the other end of using tech versus creating tech, that's a whole nother phase of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, the question was brought up, is college for everyone? And I believe the answer is no, but you still have to learn. You have to be a learner.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff you're talking about, I don't know how to use or do any of that. I would have to learn it.
Correct.
Just like any of these young people sitting here, I would make the argue, a lot of them don't know what you know to be able to do what you can do. Go from where they are to where you are is a learning process.
Mm-hmm.
So our young people have to have their minds open to learn, just like our older generation, learn how to use these cell phones.
Yeah.
Learn how to use email.
And just,
It's all learning. Whether you're 40 and up, or you at the bottom at 12, finding your way,
yeah.
we all in the same boat now with having to
So,
put aside what we used to be doing
yeah.
to what now is more appropriate for this market of 2018.
Sir, you know, you answered your own question. You preaching right there. I mean,
We just gonna let you go ahead.
you got it because you answered your question. I mean, that's why we developed the program. And so the mentorship is about helping the young people to be able to learn those skills you're talking about. And then we offer, you know, scholarships to get adults into the industry so that they can learn the skills. There's a plethora of different organizations and entities in the city that can teach kids tech training and help them develop these skills.
But if I could just jump in, like for all of our young people, I'm pretty sure we all seen the 3-year-old who's taking photos of their parents or their grandparents, and what I like to say about that is our kids now are already growing up in the tech age where learning is just kind of like feeding themselves essentially when it comes to technology. But if we're going to use an analogy of sports, man, you could be a right-handed basketball player and it's a process to go left. You know, you got to start working left. You might miss a couple layups, but I think we just got to foster the process of learning and embrace the process of learning, but also resilience, because when you go into these fields, you're not going to get it the first time. That's just the reality of it. But making sure that our students are continued learners, but then also making sure that they have the resilience to overcome some of those challenging times.
And really teaching our kids about ownership. This is an opportunity for ownership all over again for our people. You know, black people have been historically excluded from opportunities for ownership in a lot of different ways. But the way that this tech industry is laid out in the internet, you can own in a new way. And so we need to train our people to be able to be thinking like that early. Yes, sir.
Education and everything is not for everyone. I started off taking grades when I first got out of high school. I took an HVAC grade as well. He was going to lay in condition. That helped me further my education. I found out that I was actually hired as an HVAC tech. I went to figuring out that I wanted to go further in school. So when I went further in school and technology. So I went to Western. I studied telecommunications information management. And taking those courses, I realized I was the only person in my course that looked like me, so it was really hard for me to reach out to other people for help because it's a difficult course. And then you never get that feedback that you really want. So after that, I understood what's my real passion. My real passion is education. So now I'm in grad school studying educational instructional technology, where I have a program called Teacher's Pet, where I actually teach the basics to homeschool kids about technology. I teach them about the components, the hardware, the software, the reason why it's doing this and the reason why it's not. I've had a total of 3 kids so far. I started last year where my kids actually started their own businesses fixing phones, like iPhones and things of that nature. I can give you my contact information after this. If there's anyone that's really interested in furthering their education or the field in technology, where I would teach you the basics, and if you want to go further and you feel there's something for you, we can go further with that as well.
And see, our role is not to recreate the wheel. So we would definitely like to connect with you, brother. And Noble, let's make sure we get this information, because if we could connect people to you, you know what I mean, help build what you're doing. That's kind of the way that we like to create, you know, keep our ecosystem of opportunities thriving. And it's not, you know, only about what the Midwest Tech Project is doing, but if we can help Joshua, right? Brother Joshua continue to grow his base of customers and teaching our young people about technology. That's what it is for us.
Commissioner Lumpkins, you had a question for us.
Oh, yeah.
Because we should be connecting young folks to your projects, your mentorships, and some of those old heads can benefit from some of this technology.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. So,
I'm always so proud of y'all too. I don't think this is champion when I see you guys. It's just, y'all just awesome, right? Back in '89.
That was the year I was born. I'm just gonna throw that out there. April 4th, 1989.
1989, they taught us computer programming. We spent the whole semester just to get a little thing to ping from one side of the screen to the other, right?
Absolutely.
I didn't stay with it, you know, I was bored. You know, it was so tedious and it was just so, it took a lot of concentration to get to that point to do that, right? But I believe if I would have had somebody that was very enthusiastic about what they were teaching me, I could have stayed with it.
Absolutely.
So I guess my question is, how do you guys, and I know y'all do, I just want to hear y'all explain it. How do you keep the children that you guys work with interested and not lose them like, you know, people like me?
ooh, that's a hard fight. It's tough. It's not easy, you know. I think what AJ is such an expert at doing is bringing up things that are relevant to the younger generation and having the conversation start there before we get into any kind of curriculum, any kind of coding, any kind of engineering. I think that's where you have to connect with young people where they're at. I think, you know, we've had in our community too long a generation gap where we weren't able to translate, hey, this is what the civil rights generation had to do in order for us to be here. Hey, this is what, and me and my dad used to have these conversations growing up on Sherman Street over there. Dad, I understand that the community was one way when you were growing up, but this is what I'm experiencing and I'm facing out here every day in the 1990s, in the 2000s. And so talking about things like hip-hop and how that integrates into music. For example, Jay-Z owns a streaming service called Tidal. And now music is mostly being consumed. I know there's a lot of CD listeners in here. I can see that. A couple vinyl. Some people still listen to albums. But all the young people are streaming their music. So they're either listening to music off of YouTube, they're listening to music off of, Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify, or Tidal. And Jay-Z owns his own streaming service. So that's a place where we can, you know, start having that conversation. Well, what kind of technology went into creating a Tidal? Yeah. How many people does Tidal employ? What was Jay-Z's, what is he trying to do for artists? He wants artists to be able to make a little bit more money than they were making from some of the other services. So those are good conversations that we can bring to the table.
And if I could piggyback on your point, Tony, whenever I'm working with a young person, I take my agenda off the table. So when a young person comes and they're either trying to learn how to do that ping pong thing, or they want to do the YouTube content, or they want to design flyers, for me, it's about what they want to do, and for me, connecting them to somebody who could talk their language. So I know the basics. I could, you know, figure out exactly what you want to do, but then I'm calling in a friend, I'm calling in a Joshua, I'm calling in people who are already in that field to connect that young person there. And we had one young guy by the name of Nathaniel Holloway, man. He came in and he already built his first video game by the time he got to us. But once he got to us, he was stuck on the joystick of how to operate it. But fortunately, we have mentors that look like us in the tech space, and one of our mentors named Duran showed him how to work out that kink. So for us, it's identifying their interests, and not ours, and then also connecting them to people who speak their language, who could actually say, hey, I make $80,000 a year doing this, you could do it too. Let's get you an internship, and build that morale and that confidence that this is a lucrative way. Because one thing that burns me up inside is our young people going to McDonald's, Myers to make ends meet, but however the skill isn't being developed at the same time. So if we could get them places where they're developing skills and being paid, that's the win-win for us.
So our next questions, we want to get some young people in here because we only have 10 minutes left. So this young gentleman right here, what's your name?
He looked familiar.
My name is Dylan Hoskins.
Nice to meet you, sir.
My question is, like, because I already know the basics of coding off of Khan Academy.
Nice,
so,
nice.
Like, how do I go about learning more of that?
So for us, if you already know Khan Academy, then it would maybe be like more focus in, are you HTML, CSS, JavaScript? Have you dived in any of those languages yet? So our next step would be figuring out what Khan Academy taught you to make it correlate to either one of those languages. So you might be already doing some JavaScript work and you might not know it. So then what we would like to do is get you connected with Noble. Noble will be able to pick your brain and kind of figure out what exactly you're doing. And then what he'll do is get you further development in those things. And then after you max out on Noble's end, we'll take you over to Atomic Object or OST, somewhere like that, where they have world-class expertise to help move you even further along.
Absolutely, that's great, young man. Go ahead. Hold on, man. Hold on. We gotta get this some of the youth in here real quick.
I want to do animating, and I already know some things about it, but can you tell me, like, where I can find more?
So it sounds like you're looking to get into video game design or some of that stuff. So cool, man. It's a company called Grand App around here that actually builds video games on the app network. So what we'd like to do is connect with us, and we'll get you connected to people who are already in that space that are building video games, and get you the software you need. And that's another thing on our end. As young people come to us and they have different needs, whether it's the software end or even transportation to and from the opportunities, that's something that we help provide assistance with as well.
You, and then come to you, man. Nice.
And it's like, and what are some ways that we can code at home?
Yeah. You have a computer at home?
Well, YouTube.
Tablet.
With tablet?
Yeah, so tablet.
I don't know, honestly. Tablet is a go. Our resident tech expert, Noble, says.
What is it, Python or something like that for? So the first thing you do is go home, Google free coding software, and it pop up on your tablet. And that's actually what our student Nate built his first video game on, was just a home cooked tablet. It wasn't an iPad, but the functionality is definitely there.
And you can connect with this gentleman. You can connect with us after this, and this gentleman over here, and we'll help you get going.
Is it safe?
Huh? Is it safe?
That resource that you just gave safe?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a
absolutely.
yep.
Code Academy.
Absolutely. Go
Yes,
ahead,
ma'am.
man.
I would like to get in touch with it also because I want to do some video games.
Yeah.
And so I'd be interested in to see how to go about doing it.
Spectacular.
Here and then here. Go ahead, brother. Yeah.
My name is Rhodes, and I've been sitting up here just jumping out of my skin because I like what you're saying. I'm an engineer by trade, okay? I've been doing this for years. And when I go into companies and things, I don't see people like even top accountants about it.
Yeah.
And I notice that they don't hire someone. So what I want to say is, I'm just glad that you guys are talking about programming, because what I do now is I'm an automation engineer. And what you said is spot on point. They are creating, create machines that take out work cells and workers. Okay? So one of the things that our students need to get into is learn how to program robot arms, into robot stuff, that type of stuff, how a robot can take this and bring it over here, and it's accurate. Our people need to get into it, and one of the things that's disappointing to me is that I don't see enough of us in it.
Absolutely.
They've got factories now that no lights are in, because why does a computer need lights? So they're starting stuff, but you still need somebody to program it in case something goes wrong.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that we need to do, and that really bothers me, is where is the network of black engineers, black programmers, whatever, so that we can start speaking to some of these things. When I taught, I had black students come up to me saying, because I've seen you, I know there's hope for me. Okay, so we need to build something like that.
Absolutely.
I'm interested in speaking to any crowd. I don't care if it's free or whatever, but that is the future right now.
Hey,
We would love to have-
Brother Noble, please go get his information. Because so just on that point, what we do at the Midwest Tech Project is we have the robust community calendar of events. So our last community event was, we're going to wrap up. Our last community event was a tech panel that facilitated Microsoft, IBM. So we had panel discussions to help drive that topic of where the industry is going. But we got 2 minutes, so I want to make sure I answer this young man question.
So I'm a full-time student, part-time, like I work part-time. I'm also like a part-time gamer.
Absolutely.
And so I kind of have like a small YouTube page, but I'm just trying to figure out like how do I kind of build from there.
So best thing you could do if you got $20, man, sponsor your YouTube page on Facebook to help reach 10 to 20,000 people that you didn't know. Continue to do that because that Facebook boost will get you outside of your homegrown network and get you into more of Grand Rapids and beyond. So then your subscriber base will be able to increase. Before we get off, the best way to connect with us is our Facebook page, the Midwest Tech Project, our website, www.themidwesttechproject.org. And also, please check out our YouTube page, the Midwest Tech Project. That kind of houses all of our event overview and kind of who we are and what we do.
And young man, please connect with Noble over there. So anybody who has anything going on tech related, connect with Noble. He'll get your information. We'll follow back with all of you, and we can take it from there.
And was it Brother Bruce, Willie Bruce? Gooch, we got to absolutely connect with more men like you because it's upon us to create our own network. And I think sometimes we look to lean on others' networks when we can have that infrastructure in-house. So first and importantly, thank you very much for this opportunity to kind of share what we are and who we do. And if there's any way that we could be of assistance to young people, millennials, Gen Xers, baby boomers, please don't hesitate to give us a shout. And we're here to service. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's give it up for Brother Jonathan, amen, amen, and Brother Alvin, amen, amen, amen.